Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Don't stand up so early. Sit down. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is taken from Canto 1, Chapter 18, Text 4. So the Chapter 18 is about the Brahman boy cursing Maharaj Pariksit. So we're start now. Hare Krishna. Jaya Ratha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Ratha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Vrajadhanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajadhanaranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra Nitai Gora Chandra Gora Hari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Jaya Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajapacharya Stotra Satsya Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jaya Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajapacharya Stotra Satsya Maharaj His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai His compound Acharya Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem Sikh Host Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Go. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to the Lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Those Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Kere Swami Nityaname. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Kere Tinamuni. Narayana Namaskritya Narom Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nashta Praiswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. Morning, dear devotees. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Text 4. No tamashloka vatanam yushasam tatkatamritam Shatsam Ramunta Kalepi Smaratam Tat Padam Vujam Nostamashloka Vartanam Yushatam Tat Katamritam Shatsam Ramanta Kalepi Smaratam Tat Padam Vujam Nostamashloka Vartanam Yushatam Tat Katamritam Shat Brahmamunta Kalepi Smaratam Tatpadam Bhujam. Hare Krishna. Do you know the Gita with that? And you don't mind chanting? Hare Krishna.
Notam shlokavartanam jushtatam tat kathamritam syat sambramon takale api smaratam tat padam bhujam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Notamaslokavartanam jushatam tat katamritam svatsambhramo nata svatsambhramontakalepi smaratam tat padam bhujam. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else?
नोत्तमश्लोकवार्तानां जुषतां तत्कथामृतं स्यात् सम्भ्रामन्तकालेऽपि स्मरतां तत्पदाम्बुजम्.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Notam shloka vartanam jushtanam tatkathamritam shat sambramo antakalepi smratam tatpadam bhujam.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right. Word for word. Na, never. Uttam Shloka, the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing. Vartanam, of those who live on them. Yushatam, of those who are engaged in. Tat, his. Katamritam, transcendental topics about him. Syat, it so happens. Sambrama, misconception. Anta, at the end. Kale, in time. Api, also. Smaratam, remembering. Tat, his. Pada Ambujam, lotus feet. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not run the risk of having misconceptions even at the last moment of their lives. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The highest perfection of life is attained by remembering the transcendental nature of the Lord at the last moment of one's life. This perfection of life is made possible by one who has learned the actual transcendental nature of the Lord from the Vedic hymns sung by a liberated soul like Shukadeva Goswami or someone in that line of disciplic succession. There is no gain in hearing the Vedic hymns from some mental speculator. When the same is heard from an actual self-realized soul and is properly understood by service and submission, everything becomes transparently clear. Thus, a submissive disciple is able to live transcendentally and continue to the end of life. By scientific adaptation, one is able to remember the Lord even at the end of life, when the power of remembrance is slackened due to derangement of bodily membranes. For a common man, it is very difficult to remember things as they are at the time of death, but by the grace of the Lord and his bona fide devotees, the spiritual masters, one can get this opportunity without difficulty. And it was done in the case of Maharaj Pariksit. Om Gina Tiranyasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swapadantika. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaisnavam Cha. Sri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagam Haragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Cha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sundhibe Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Pacharine Nirveshesha Sunyavari Paschathyadi Chatarine. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurachise Namaha. Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Himavidi Vichavishnuraya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. The translation again. This was so because those who have dedicated their lives to transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not run the risk of having misconceptions even at the last moment of their lives. Hare Krishna. So this text is very, very instructive. Every text has a message, a very strong message that helps to improve our lives and expose more to us what transcendental lifestyle and transcendental knowledge is about. So obviously this text starts with this was so. So what was so? So what happened? So that is in the previous text. So the previous text talks about Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit. Something very similar to that happened also in the case of Krishna and Arjuna in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Although the details not exactly the same, but the conclusions were the same. And the conclusions are very instructive to us. What we're talking about says, this was so. What happened? Maharaj Pariksit accepted Shukadeva Goswami as his instructing guru. That was very, very important. Maharaj Pariksit submitted himself onto the lotus feet of Shukadeva Goswami. And in that way, Shukadeva Goswami instructed Maharaj Pariksit, and from the knowledge and the hearing process, the knowledge that he got, Maharaj Pariksit got from hearing so attentively, he was without any misconceptions. All misconceptions were gone. And he died remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Arjuna also, after being bewildered about the type of people he was going to fight in the relationship with them at the Battle of Kurukshetra, many of them were related to him, especially the kings and the princes. A good many of them were related to him. From Gandhari's side, 100 princes were already related because they had sons, 100 sons. 100 princes were already related to the Pandavas. So Arjuna got bewildered but he also said the same thing. Sri Krishna, let's stop this friend-to-friend talk. Now I want to accept you as my guru, as my spiritual master. Please instruct me. So Maharaj Pariksit accepted Shukadeva Goswami as his guru. Arjuna accepted Krishna as his guru for the same reason, instructions to be given. One gave Bhagavad Gita, that is Krishna himself, and Shukadeva Goswami gave Srimad Bhagavatam instruction. And now we're benefiting from it also. But it also means that, it stresses the importance of having a guru, spiritual master, that you approach. Krishna says that. You inquire submissively, and you also serve. With us, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, in this particular age, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As conditioned souls, pure chanting is a challenge for us. We want to be honest with ourselves. The mind is roaming here and there. That is the nature of a mind. And when the mind roams even for a second, pure chanting gets affected. It's no longer pure. It is there. The mercy, the mercy of Lord Chaitanya is there to help us purify the chanting by the Panchatattva mantra, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. But as conditioned souls, we ourselves are not able to chant purely. Therefore, the chanting, although pure chanting can take one back to the spiritual world, we are also charged with having to serve to increase the chances of going back by chanting, but also serving. According to the other 8 of the 9 processes, one of them is chanting, then the hearing and so on. We'll talk about that later. So that's also very, very important. So we hear and we chant. We hear from a bona fide source, one who has heard from a bona fide source. The parampara, we have a descending, the descending order from Krishna himself, instructing to the sun god, and sun god instructing to Manu, and Manu instructing to Ikaku or Kshaku, like that. And the message coming down. And now in the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna instructed again, recited Bhagavad Gita to the hearing of Arjuna. So the perfection of life, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, that's obtained, the highest perfection is obtained by remembering Krishna, the transcendental nature at the last moment of one's life. The transcendental nature of the Lord. By remembering the Lord, you will obviously remember the transcendental nature because of hearing from a bona fide spiritual master all of these years. So remembering the Lord is also one of the 9 processes. To remember the Lord at the last moment of one's life is very, very important. Now, Srila Prabhupada, the next sentence, he says that the perfection of this life is made, that life is made, everybody's life, that is, that's made possible by one who has learned the actual transcendental nature of the Lord. From Vedic hymns sung by liberated soul like Shukadeva Goswami or someone in the parampara. So one hears, and then, of course, the instruction is there, and the instruction in Kali Yuga is the ones who chant and serve. So when we hear, chant, and serve, then there is no problem when it comes to the time to leave the body. By the mercy of the Lord, arrangement will be made for the person to be able to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It all has to do with how much dedication we put into serving the Lord, the Lord's devotees, and the spiritual master while we're living. If we make it the priority in our lives to do that kind of service to them and to mankind as a whole, trying to elevate people's lives. This is so much needed now. The world is just going to hell in a handbasket, as it says in American jargon. It's very obvious now. So Maya has taken over, and the kings are demoniac, and the people are suffering. But when anyone takes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by hearing, by chanting, and by serving, then they've made their life perfect. And that is the message being sent here. So remembrance is very important. How we attain the Supreme at the end of our lives. A whole chapter in Bhagavad Gita is devoted to that, chapter 8. The title is Attaining the Supreme. So in chapter 8, text 5, remember the Lord at the time of death, we go to the spiritual sky. Chapter 8, text 5, Antakale chamam eva, smanam mukta kale param, yapayati satmak bhaktam, but sadmad bhavam, yati nastyatra samshaya. And whoever at the end of life quits his or her body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. Whoever at the end of his life leaves this physical body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Attains my nature means they go to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what has been blocked by the subtle body and by the physical body no longer gets blocked. The soul is free to be relating to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are like the Lord, but the Lord, the difference is, he is Vibhu, huge, unlimited, and we are Anu, insignificant. But the quality of the Lord, Satchidananda, being eternal, being knowledgeable, and being in bliss, that is always there. That is always there. Our souls are like that. The quality of that's the same as the quality of the Lord. That's why we're part and parcel of the Lord. So remembering the Lord at the time of death, one goes to Krishna. So one must remember the form of Krishna. And if he quits his body thinking of his form, then he approaches the spiritual kingdom. So what form? Well, we are instructed by the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, to remember the form that was in front of Arjuna, that related to Arjuna, the two-handed form of the Lord, the original form of the Lord. The same form was in Vrindavan, relating to cowherd boys, relating to Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj. That is the form in Golok Vrindavan. And that is the form that would take us to Golok Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada has designed the whole getting back to the spiritual world based on going to the highest planet, the farthermost, and the one with the most variety in relating to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is Golok Vrindavan. We are very fortunate to have that opportunity. The other Vaikuntha planets, it's wonderful. Satchidananda still applies there, but the relationship is limited. There's far more relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Golok Vrindavan. And we have a chance to go there. As we said, chapter 8 is about attaining the Supreme. Chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 8, text 7. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudha cha maya peta mano buddhir mam eveshasi asamsaya. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you always should think of me. And at the same time, do your work. your prescribed duty. In the case of Arjuna, he was a Kshatriya, so his prescribed duty was fighting. And then with the activities of Arjuna dedicated to Krishna and his mind and intelligence fixed on Krishna, he will attain Krishna without doubt. So Krishna was saying, with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me. So you should always think of Krishna. That is also the instruction given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Always think of Krishna. Never forget Krishna. Everything that we do, we should discriminate. Is this helpful to devotional service? Yes, then do it. Is this helpful to devotional service? No, it's in the modes, then you don't do it. No more passion, no more ignorance activities. So, chapter 8, text 7 says, don't stop your occupation. Of course, you have to think of, we have to be involved in the type of occupation that does not violate the regulative principles. The regulative principles of meat eating, you don't do that. Gambling, you don't do that. And illicit sex, you don't do that. And intoxication, you don't do that. So you try to stay away from businesses and employment that connect with those kind of things. And devotees, many devotees that I know have made it a real, very, very important point. And Krishna has been there to back them. Guru has been there to give his blessings. And they have worked where, even in companies where other employees that are not in this transcendental path, this royal path of devotion, don't think twice about breaking regulative principles. They don't even know the regulative principles, much less adhere to them or not. The devotees have made sure they've gone to the management and say, because of my spiritual understanding, I don't do this, I can't do this, make adjustment for me. Particularly, there are some devotees that were driving trucks, truck drivers in this country, United States. And they said to the management, I cannot haul meat. I cannot haul meat for you. And they didn't lose their jobs. There were so many other things that could be transported. And so the management made sure that they, in fact, had the kind of load that did not have any item in there that would violate their regulative principles. They would say their religious beliefs, but actually it winds up to not breaking the regulative principles. So if we're really serious about it, Krishna will give us a way. He's in the heart of everybody. He's in the heart of the employer. Therefore, if we really are serious to stay with the process fully, then Krishna will make arrangements for that to happen. And so we don't stop our occupation, but we do two things. Think of the Lord while working and dedicate the activities of the work to him. You can dedicate directly if it is possible, or if indirectly, as I got advice from His Holiness Deva Swami. All right, so then at that time I was teaching chemistry in the university, and we couldn't see the connection directly because we can preach. True enough, that's there when we get the chance. Slip in things from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But he also said that when you get paid, then you take a percentage of that work that you've done and the pay that you got, the work that you've done for which you got the salary. You take part of the salary and you donate it to Krishna conscious activities. That way, then you spiritualize the work also because you've connected a part of it, at least the results of working, to Krishna conscious activities, donating for it. So we should continue occupation and also think of the Lord while working. And there are many ways to do that. Keeping the Lord around us through pictures around us that remind us of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as technology is in, new products are coming, people are finding ways. I know now one particular devotee who comes on Zoom. He's a bus driver, and he turns on his camera, and he's hearing Bhagavatam in the morning from his Guru Maharaj. And he has the phone so he can hear, and he's driving. he gets, he keeps the volume low so he can see what's going on around. And sometimes he drives a bus. He stops the bus and, where he has to, and then he gets a chance to just hear without any interruption or having to do two things at once, but he hears. It is possible now. The advantage is when people come up with new projects, new gadgets electronically, we see how we can use it in service of the Lord, service to the devotees. So also in the Bhagavad Gita, the introduction section, yes, the struggling for existence goes on. That we cannot stop, but we should remember the Lord simultaneously. We should always be chanting the name of the Lord, just like Lord Chaitanya instructs. Ketanya Sada Hari. Trinadapi Snichena, Terarivasa Ishtana, Amanina Manadena, Ketanya Sada Hari. One should be more humble than a blade of glass, more tolerant than a tree, and devoid of all sense of false prestige. We should give respect to others and not expect respect from them. If they respect us, that's good, but we shouldn't expect that respect to come from us. We should be in the service mood of giving respect to everybody. And in that type of humble mindset, then the name of the Lord will come out our lips easily. Ketaniya Sadahari. So we should keep trying to live, but live for the Lord and remember the Lord simultaneously. Struggling for existence. That's the way it is in the material world. That's what we're talking about the other day. We have to pay to live. Everybody has to pay to live. Rich, poor, it doesn't matter. Your house is little, your house is big, you have to pay to live. You say, oh, my house is paid for. You still have to pay because they're property taxes. And that doesn't stop even after the house is paid for. You have to pay to live. You have to pay for groceries to live. If you have your own farm, you have to work hard because you just don't have a land there and then the seeds will just sprout and give you whatever fruits that you want. You have to put in the effort. So even if you have your own garden and that's how you feed yourself, you still have to put in the effort. In the spiritual world, you don't pay to live. In the material world, you have to pay to live. Either money to buy it or the actual effort ourselves. And many people have jobs, therefore they pay they work in order to get the pay, and then they use to pay in order to try to live. So we pay to live. It's a struggle for existence. But when we remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all times and chant his holy name, then we will be successful at the end of our lives and go back to Godhead. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says we have to mold our lives in such a way that we can always remember the Lord. And that comes in different ways depending on how, what we're doing and where we are. Again, in Bhagavad Gita, Attaining the Supreme, chapter 8, text 8, we remember Krishna. The best way to remember Krishna is to acquire knowledge from the spiritual master. And then that will cause us to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Krishna is assuring Arjuna, Abhasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa Nanya Gamina Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Partha Nuchintayam. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Arjuna, is sure to reach me. Prabhupada says this is not a very difficult process. But to do this, one has to learn from an experienced personality. Tad Vigyanatam Sagurum Ivibhat. Eva Bigaschit. Eva Bigaschit. I remember Chanamali Swami says, that's a big word. Eva Bigaschit, but it means must. One must approach the Guru and get knowledge from a Guru. Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12. So, and the Guru is an acharya, he's teaching, but he's also practicing. So that is a person who doesn't just impart knowledge, but is convinced about the knowledge, and he's practicing that knowledge daily. He's gyan, but he also is vigyan. The wisdom is there, and the application is also going on. Such person you approach. So Papa says we have to approach a Guru who's already practicing. The mind goes here and there, but one must practice concentrating the mind always on the form of a Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, or the sound of his name, Hare Krishna. So it can rest, this mind that goes all over the place, you can rest it on the sound vibration of Krishna by singing itself, bhajans, kirtans, by hearing bhajans and kirtans being sung so that the mind is concentrating on what they're hearing. It does a good job, the mind does a good job of being steady when the hearing is going on, when it's hearing. When hearing the whole name of the Lord, then the mind will be steadily focused on what they're hearing. Chapter 8, Bhagavad Gita, text 6. Whatever a person thinks of at the time of death, it determines what kind of body that is available for the next life. Yam yam bhakti smaran bhavam tyajatyanti kale param tam tam evaiti kanteya sada tat bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So, at the end of one's life, when a person quits his body thinking of Krishna, then they'll attain the transcendental nature, go to the supreme, the sky, the spiritual sky. So when we think of something other than, anyone who thinks of something other than Krishna cannot attain that same place. So we have to note carefully, we have to die in the proper state of mind. And this happened to Bharat Maharaj. He did not die in the proper state of mind. He concentrated his activities, even though he was in the forest, to concentrate fully on Krishna and serve Krishna. When he rescued a baby deer, he turned his attention to the deer and at the expense of doing his devotional service. And so he died thinking of a deer. The forest was there, the deer was there. It was easy for the deer to blend into the forest and live like that. There were plenty of other deers living, But since Bharat Maharaj made the deer a pet and the deer kept coming back to him, so at the end of his life, he was thinking about the deer, and therefore in his next life, as advanced as he was, he still had to be transferred into the body of the deer. The mind is part of the subtle body. And whatever is thinking of at that time, it is the subtle body that carries the soul to the next existence. So the next existence is the subtle body is thinking about a particular thing, then it follows automatically that the subtle body should carry that soul to that thing because the mind is thinking about that thing. So when the mind thinks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the mind thinks about a spiritual master, representative of the Lord, then the subtle body will carry the soul to what the mind was thinking about. That's why we go where the mind is thinking. So yam yam avisparam bhavam, whatever a person thinks of at the time of death determines what body is available for that person. So unfortunately, Bharat Maharaj had to accept a deer body, but the Lord gave him the mercy of being able to remember his previous life. Animals usually don't. Even humans don't. So for the advancement that Bharat Maharaj had achieved, Bharat Maharaj was actually the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaj Shabadi, Krishna's incarnation. So he was up there, born by the Lord's incarnation. So the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's an easy way, and it's the best process for successfully changing a person's mind and the state of being at the end of one's life. So, again, in chapter 8, text 10, a part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada also talks, of course, these spiritual books always explain so many things. Sometimes it applies directly to us. Sometimes it's also knowledge that we can use for someone else. Yogis, those who are practicing yoga, when it comes time for them to leave the body, they raise the life force between the eyebrows. It's called the Agya Chakra. And finally, we come to the top of the head. So that type of meditation is also there. But one that is practicing Bhakti Yoga does not have to go through that. The person is engaged in devotional service, not expecting any kind of payback from it. This is how we purify our devotional service, not expecting payback. They engage in Krishna consciousness always. Then at death, he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't have to move the life force, the soul to different places to try to get there. So we are fortunate already, and because of the mercy of the spiritual master, and if we follow what he tells us, then we'll be successful at the time we'll be leaving the body. To bring it home to some of the things that's happened, I remember a brahmachari who was I'm sure a disciple of His Holiness Kadamba Swami, gave a report of the last few days down to the hours, down to the few minutes before Maharaj left the body. And that day that he left the body, close to that time, he was in fact looking at the deities while a pujari was performing arti in his room. And after the end of the arti was over was when he left. So all of the time, how glorious that is. When the devotees heard that, they literally clapped their hands. The video was taken of it. So this brahmachari, young brahmachari in European body was describing the situation with Kadamba Swami. Left thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even his Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami, at some point said that you're in so much pain, Maharaj. Do however many rounds you can do. Kadamba Swami insisted, I have to finish 16 rounds. So through the pain and all of that, he still did the 16 rounds. It's at least, Prabhupada says at least 16 rounds. So you have to do 16 rounds. And he died with the devotees there. They had chanted the Hare Krishna mantra. So Krishna was favorable. His Guru Maharaj was there too, Jayadvaita Swami at that time. So the conclusion is at all times, think about the Lord. So with that being the dominant thought, then one will remember the Lord at the time of death. Now, it's also important. We talked about Kadamba Swami and the fact that so many devotees were there. Some of them were his devotees, his disciples, some of them were not. But when we maintain good relationships with devotees, then they will make it a point to be present for us and chant while we are on our deathbed. We also should make the atmosphere around us Krishna conscious so that it will help us to remember the Lord. Sometimes even when we're working and our conscious minds are on the work that we're doing, our subconscious mind will pick up what's in the environment. The other day we were talking, understanding myself, we see billboards on the side of the road and said, well, think about putting a big billboard out there and have Hare Krishna on there, because people don't miss it. The subconscious, because everything is on all the big billboards. So we have a billboard talking about Hare Krishna. There are billboards now talking about Jesus. Sometimes you talk Jesus saves, just 2 words. Well, Guru Maharaj will take you back to the spiritual world. How much better that is. So, make the atmosphere around us Krishna conscious in our own way. And finally, most important, the biggest sabotage, stay away from that, which is aparat. Stay away from offenses, because there's no chance of going back to the spiritual world for somebody that's not aparadi. And why? Because Srimati Radharani will not recommend such a person to Krishna. So think of the Lord at all times. Maintain good relationships with devotees so they can help us to remember the Lord. Make the atmosphere around us Krishna conscious so that our minds will be, at the very least, our subconscious mind will be on it. And stay away from offenses so that we don't sabotage our own effort to go back to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. And now, devotees, please unmute your phones. Anyone who wants to make comments, ask questions, realizations, takeaways, whatever that is spiritual that you want to throw in, please do. This is the time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Jai, thank you for such a wonderful class, and especially stressing the point of chanting, how we should take our japa very seriously. I was having a discussion with a few devotees when I was in Houston for the leadership meetings, and then with Arjun Saka yesterday afternoon when he stopped by, how, we have to really stress the importance of chanting japa and hearing and reading as a foundation for the young generation, because now there's so much kirtan going on, and kirtan is great. It's really perfectly great, but sometimes it becomes like a show off or a celebrity case, because they really don't understand the purity of the holy name, like it's, like we've heard, right? Chanting of the holy name is Krishna dancing on our tongue, literally, because the holy name is none different than the Supreme Lord himself. So the young generation and the future generation, we need to somehow really guide them and teach them. That was the focus, this whole weekend when I was in Houston. As the theme and the focus and the discussion for 3 days was teach, train, educate. Teach, train, educate. It was like all 3 days that we have to go back to the basics, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, reading, and that will give us the taste for Kirtan. And I wanted to share that because it's so important that we reverse our psychology to really understand, the purity of the holy name. And it's just not just singing, because I was reading here, Srila Prabhupada says, Vedic hymns, sometimes we just sing it like a Vedic hymn without understanding the purity of the holy name. So that was my takeaway, and definitely a reminder again and again, that I've heard so much over the weekend and again today. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Teach, train, and educate.
That was the focus the whole 3 days.
Yes, people do need to understand, and they understand about transcendental knowledge and be trained to apply the knowledge. And so it's important for them to be educated, for all of us to be educated. These Srimad Bhagavatam classes educate us. We have discussions, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Machita Magata Prana Bodhayantas Parasparam Katayantascha mam nityam tushanticha romanticha. Those are pure devotees of the Lord. They dedicate their lives to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How do they do it? They will have discussions. Sometimes a lecture where one person is speaking, the others are listening. Other times they have discussions. And we remember this is how Narada Muni became the Narada Muni at that level. Listening to the pure devotees of the Lord in Chaturmasya, 4 months when they were not traveling, the rainy season. And that way, he got so much from them. And then he had their remnants of food stuff, prasada. So it is very important for us to learn from that what we need to be doing with our lives. Remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead by hearing and chanting, and now training and also educating. So others will be excited. How wonderful it is. Where somebody who is new would come and ask questions, and after the end of the questions, after staying with that person, they get excited and they want to stay and they want to chant and they want to take things more seriously. It's wonderful. Another person coming to Krishna consciousness. Another person getting ready to get out of the material world. Hare Krishna. So, dear Krishna Prabhu has a text. He put it in the chat. Hare Krishna, wonderful class. Thank you. All glories to Guru and Guranga. Great point. Mataji, so she's referring to you and say, any devotional service, when it comes from the strong and sound foundation of good quality, sadhana is based on chanting, and scriptures is the way. Sadhana based on chanting and scriptures is the way. Hare Krishna. Nice point. Do you want to comment on it?
I can't agree with him any further because it's just so true. Because it is, it becomes a fashion, it becomes a facade. It becomes like I'm going to perform and I'm just going to sing because I can be in the front and I can just sing. But do they really understand? Because, like I was speaking again, I would like to share this because we've had a lot of discussions again. I'm just sharing bits and pieces of my meeting of the weekend, 3 days that we were in Houston. We have a lot of kirtaniyas nowadays, young people, where they say, oh, I follow Madhava Prabhu. Oh, I follow Indra Prabhu. And they all swear that they follow Indra Prabhu, right? Oh, I follow this. Oh, I follow that. But if we were to read Indra Prabhu, I never read his book, but I've read about his life, even when he was leaving his body. I mean, when he left his body, because he left, unexpectedly. Indra Prabhu was managing the kirtan in Krishna Balaram temple 24/7 ever since Sri Prabhupada told him in 1974. On top of that, he was cleaning and washing bathrooms. On top of that, he was doing deity service. Along with that, he was caring for his 1008 Shalagram Shilas. And on top of that, he was chanting his japa and doing kirtan. But, he was setting the example that if we just do kirtan and no japa, what's the point? We don't understand the purity of the holy name. So I was really reflecting how, going back, to this amazing class that we were hearing by Hridayananda Maharaj in Houston, he was really pushing the point of education. He is saying that what really has to be done is we need to push education. We need to push training. We need to push teaching. We need to push guiding. That's what's really lacking, because anybody can pick the kata and say, I'm going to chant, but do they know what they're chanting? So I was really, but yes, there, Krishna Prabhu, your point is so true. It goes back to the sadhana. Without sadhana, we're not going to understand how sweet the holy name is. And without reading and hearing. In fact, I was talking to one devotee in actually Jai Krishna Prabhu, my zonal supervisor, he was telling us, when we were having lunch together, that's why Srila Prabhupada has repeatedly mentioned in his lectures, the first and foremost devotional service is Shravanam, hearing. Only then we'll get the taste for chanting. and kirtan and japa. But if our hearing is weak and our reading is weak and our sadhana is weak, then the kirtan becomes like a celebrity show. So thank you, dear Krishna, for having me, pushing me. You turn another button on for me. But thank you. And yes, on top of that, he was also serving Gonitai. Absolutely, Prabhu. He was serving Gonitai. He had so many deities in his room. I mean, how many of the youth today or the young generation are washing bathrooms the way Arindra Prabhu did? He was, and actually what I learned, and I have to get this confirmed, but I was told that he was chanting not 16 rounds a day, he was chanting 116 rounds a day, something like that. So, I mean, yeah, so sorry for taking so much time, but I was really carried on by Dear Krishna's point. But yes, it's so important. Confirmed. Okay, so I was right. Okay, so what I heard was right. So there we go. So we got to go back to the basics, ABCD. Association, books, chanting, devotional service. We need to go back to the basics, ABC to spiritual life. So again, I apologies for taking up so much time, but yeah, Dear Krishna's point got me going. Sorry, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
No, that's okay. It's very good that you went to a meeting. So it's nice that we now hearing what was discussed at the meeting is very, very important for us to know. Then we see, what the importance were the things that you did at the meeting and the things that were said at the meeting. You sent a few videos that we saw on the Harrisburg WhatsApp group. The enthusiasm, people chanting and then, dancing also. Yes, the japa is important. Lord Chaitanya chanted kirtan, he had nocturnal kirtans, but Lord Chaitanya also did japa. He definitely did japa. He was counting with his fingers, on both fingers, he did japa. So he is the one to show us what devotional life is about in terms of the practice of it. And so we definitely have to do japa. It's very, very important. It's also a discipline and how to steady the mind, make the mind steady while we're chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Mother Gita, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, our guys to Prabhupada.
Accept mine.
Very nice lecture and good discussion. Thank you for such wonderful points. Thanks to you also, Anasuya and Hare Krishna Prabhu. While you all were talking about, young devotees interested, in doing kirtan and, being in the forefront, etc. Yeah, it's commonly, we can notice that. I have also noticed that these young devotees, it's good that at least they come to the temple and they do kirtan, they're chanting, the holy names for some time. But then I notice as soon as the lecture starts, they go out of the temple room and go outside and chit chat and play or whatever. So that's not following Indra Prabhu, not doing devotional service 24/7. Also, while doing kirtan, these young devotees, as I said, it's really good that they are playing mridanga, kartal, they are chanting, they are singing, they are having these kirtan festivals, etc. But quite a few of them are basically interested in showing off their skills of playing mridanga, playing kartal, or how sweetly they sing, etc. So in a way, it's good. They're at least engaging in devotional service. But as Prabhu said, we need training also. So it would be nice if training is given to these youngsters, how important it is to do japa, not just kirtan, do japa, do some service in the temple, and also get trained up to hear classes, hear lectures. That is very, very important. Unfortunately, I don't know if you all have noticed, but I have been noticing this since the beginning of Krishna consciousness in my life. that devotees, choose whom they want to hear, for Bhagavatam class. If they come to know so and so is the speaker, either they will sit or they will just walk away. And from what I understand, it's the same book every preacher is using, Prabhupada's book. Everyone is teaching the same philosophy. And so why would we choose who do I listen to and who I don't? I somehow don't understand that. Hare Krishna.
Yes, very, very, very important point. And Mother Gita, every time we talk, there's so much to learn from. The talk is always, how we can improve. What's the next step? What's the next step? What's happening? Yes, those in the youth, but remember one thing though, false ego is the last one to be able to overcome. And even in devotional life, sometimes the false ego also plays that role. And that's why sometimes, some devotees want to show up. And I know one situation when I was chanting at a home program in Reading, there was one young devotee that was playing Mudanga, and he was playing all complicated things. And it's just like, it got to a point where I had to just show him, I said, play simple, just say it to me, because it was doing it, obviously he was doing it to try to be impressive that he knew, so many other things, but yeah, simplicity, right? Simplicity, the dedication should be, and I think when it comes to japa, we have to keep reminding. That's one way. And the second way is to chant with our beatbacks right in front of them so they see us do it. At home and also at the temple. It's amazing how when the children learn by watching. And even when they get to the teenage, they still will watch. Or even more watching of the parents. Now they scrutinize the parents, not just watching and taking. They really scrutinize the parents. So when we chant our beatbacks and we're doing it in front of them, and we also encourage them by telling them japa is also part, very important. It's a matter of fact. You vow when you get a spiritual master to chant japa. You don't vow to chant bhajans and kirtans. You have to vow to prescribed number of rounds of japa. Doesn't mean that japa is more important, but it means the stress is given to japa so that we don't back off japa and say, oh, it's going to be, I used to enjoy calming music and now I'm doing devotion music and the beat's still there and I also get excited and I can dance, and that's from kirtan and that's from bhajans. It gets to my heart. There used to be like ballads and stuff that get to our heart and calming stuff. Now it is bhajans. So it's a nice replacement. But when you come to Krishna consciousness, it's not piecemeal. You take it all. And japa is part of it. But when we chant in front of them, hopefully that will also encourage them and announce to them, maybe we can have japa sessions too. Make them be part of the chanting of the japa. So these are some ideas, depending on what temple you're part of, just help to elevate the consciousness of everybody, especially the need to chant. Chant japa. Hare Krishna. We've gone well past the time. So I think we can stop here. Thank you all for listening. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari 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 Bol. So have a nice rest of your week. Hare Krishna.
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 Hare
Bless
Krishna.
you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.